The storm hadn't stopped for 2 days. Joseph sat there on his porch, sipping on something strong and tasteless from a large jug. He loved to watch the rain, but this was ridiculous. The backwoods that he called home had become a river of mud going around his house. His tool shed had washed away early that morning. Still, it was a sight to see, and Joseph enjoyed it nonetheless. Leaning forward in his chair, he strained his eyes to better see the figure moving through the water to his porch. It was a sharp-dressed man wearing a perfectly fitted black suit and tie. He waded through the water unhindered. He reached the lip of the porch and climbed up. Joseph noticed that he wasn't wet, out of breath, or unfriendly. He wasn't afraid of the man. Joseph was far too old to fear anything so common. Joseph knew, however, that this was no man, but he was just as common. He motioned for him to take a seat, which he accepted.
Want a sip?
Joseph asked, offering his jug.
Yes, thank you, sir,
he said, as he took the jug with an amount of politeness Joseph hadn't seen in years.
Quite a storm, huh?
For this area? Yes. I don't think there's been one this bad in almost a century.
Joseph smiled at the man next to him. He was finally here.
It's about damn time you showed up. My wife's been waiting for 6 years now. She must be driving y'all crazy up there without me to keep her calm.
I wouldn't know about that. I just walked them to the next place. Though she did keep asking when I was going to come back for you. As far as why it took me so long, you should blame your son, Jesse. He's tried to keep you alive for as long as he could.
That damn boy never did listen to me. Told him I just wanted nature to take its course. He had me eating some kind of turkey bacon.
Well, that and you wouldn't exactly let go. You hate the thought of your son losing his father and his mother.
Joseph thought about that. It was true. In fact, it was probably the only thing that kept him alive this long. No matter how old Jesse got, he would always be that little kid that liked to throw Cheerios in the toilet to watch them flush.
He can handle it, Joe, don't worry. You raised a good one.
The man took another sip.
Yeah, I know.
He thought about his son. He remembered watching his son hold his own child for the first time.
He's raising a good one, too.
Indeed he is.
The man set the jug down. They sat for a while, watching the rain.
Well,
Joseph said as he stood up and stretched.
I guess it's about that time.
I suppose it is.
The man stood up with him. They walked together off the porch. The rushing water didn't bother them. The man guided Joseph away. Alex dropped the cigarette on the ground and stamped it out with his foot as an old patient walked by. He says those things will kill him. He almost laughed as he told him to go back to bed before a nurse sees him up this late. The hospital room feels cold and eerie as his wife lay cold and motionless on the bed. She had been like this for a few hours now. His tears had since dried up, but the pit in his stomach lingered. He stood in the doorway looking down the hallways, like he was waiting for someone.
Hello, Alex.
The voice came from behind him. The man's sudden appearance didn't startle Alex. He was used to it. The man had a way of sneaking up on people. Some could see him coming from miles away. Alex felt sorry for them.
Hey,
he said, turning around. A man in a perfectly fitted black suit and tie sits next to her.
So, this is number 4, right?
her name is Susan.
I know her name, Alex.
Of course you do. You know everyone's name. You just don't care.
That's not true. I don't know everyone's name. I learn them as I go.
Alex knew he was being unfair.
Sorry, I'm just upset. It never gets any easier, you know. In fact, it gets harder. I guess because when I start seeing someone, I know what's going to happen. And I hate to go through it again. Eventually, I think. I don't care anymore. I'm going to do it and cross that bridge when I get there. Do you know how much you have to love someone to be with them knowing you will outlive them by God knows how long?
Yes, I do, Alex. Don't forget that I'm older than you. You can't live as long as we have without doing that.
Kids are the worst part. Can you imagine being with someone from the day they were born all the way up to when you bury them?
Yes.
Alex noticed that the man had become colder. He understood and reminded himself that the man had done everything that he had, only for much, much longer.
I'm sorry, you know how it is. I'm just upset. I don't mean to be such an ass to you.
The man took his eyes off of Alex and looked down at Susan. He brushed her silver hair, and in a calm voice, he spoke to her.
Have you ever heard the story of the man who was so mad at me that he claimed he could do a better job than me?
Alex's eyes fixed on her as the man told her the story. Alex's story.
A long time ago, a child died, and her father blamed me. He accused me of killing her. He said that people would be much happier without me. I tried to explain to him that there had to be someone like me, but he called me a fool and claimed that he could do my job better. It would be better because he would never let anyone die. That was the first time someone had ever said that to my face. So I gave him my job for a while. He did exactly what he said he would do. No one died. No more funerals. No more graves. No more watching your loved ones pass on. No more. However, there was still disease, still war and violence, still hunger. No more death, but so much more pain. This man panicked and cried out because he could hear the screams begging for death. There was nowhere you could be without hearing them. He finally calls for me. He begged me to undo what he had done.
The man paused for a moment as if to hear someone speak. Then he continues in a softer voice.
Yes, I did. But because of what he had done, he had to be punished. Not my choice. He was sentenced to be the last man I would ever walk with.
After that, he smiled, stood up, and reached out his hand as if to hold someone else's. And then he walked to the door.
We have to go now, Alex. Goodbye, and best of luck.
He snapped his head to the side his invisible companion was on and said,
No, I'm afraid that's not possible. Sorry. Yes, I can tell him. She says she will always love you, Alex, and that everything will be okay.
I love you too,
Alex said, trying to choke back a new set of tears. The man smiled and started walking down the hallway. Alex stood in silence until the man was halfway down the hall. Then he called out to him.
How long? How much longer till the end?
Still smiling, he turned and said,
Not long. Well, at least not long for us. Goodbye, Alex.
He walked around the corner and was gone.
Dr. Gill, you have someone in your office.
The nurse at the front desk said as he walked by.
Is he a family member of my surgery patient this afternoon?
I'm not sure. He just walked in and told me that he would be in your office.
And he didn't ask who he was?
Gill asked the nurse. Rennae was one of the more suspicious nurses in the hospital.
No. I felt like I knew who he was, but now I can't think of his name or where I've seen him.
Rennae looked confused, as if she was trying to remember something she already knew. He looked down the hospital halls. Orderlies and nurses walked around doing their jobs, guiding or pushing patients to their rooms, delivering medicine or food, or the few that were flirting. Occasionally he would see a doctor walk down the hall, rarely looking up from a clipboard.
Thanks, Rennae. I'm sure it's just a friend or family member of my patient. I'll reassure them that
He looked down at his clipboard.
Sarah is in the best hands.
When the doctor arrived in his office, there was what appeared to be a funeral director. He looked to be in his early 40s, perfectly fitted black suit and tie, and he was looking over the books on the bookshelf. When the doctor walked into the office, the man looked over and smiled at him.
Shulmu, Dr. Gilgamesh.
He didn't think he had heard the man right.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Shulmu, I'm sorry, is my pronunciation off? You have so many dead languages. I'm bound to get some of the words wrong.
No, that was fine. In fact, it was perfect.
Gilgamesh said as he closed the door to his office.
How did you learn that?
There's only one way to learn languages. You speak with the people that speak the language.
The man pulled a book on lung diseases off the shelf and opened it.
So much information on how to avoid me for such a small amount of time. Even you've avoided me for the longest of anyone, but it has still been a small amount of time.
Gilgamesh knew who he was now. He had found a way to avoid him not long after his friend had died.
What now?
Your patient this afternoon. There will be complications with the surgery.
He didn't look up from the book.
She's not leaving this place alive.
It's breast implant surgery. I'm just giving a middle-aged woman with too much money a false sense of youth. No one ever dies here. This isn't even a real hospital. It's just a place where rich people come to have plastic surgery. How?
I think she has an allergic reaction to the anesthesia. I'm not sure, to be honest.
And what about my career afterwards?
I don't know. It's honestly not my problem.
He continued to flip the pages of the book.
So, after she dies, you take me with you?
No. You've avoided me for so long that you don't appear on my list anymore. You used to be on it every day, but when I would make my way to you, your name would just drop off.
So what? You were just in the neighborhood and decided to drop by?
Gilgamesh said with air quotes.
In a sense.
The man responded with a smile. Gilgamesh didn't know what to say or do. He tried to think back to when he found a way to avoid death. It had been so long he couldn't remember what it was. The way this man was talking about it, though, it sounded as mundane as dropping your car keys.
What now?
Nothing special. You prep for surgery, you do your job, she dies anyway, and you go on with your life.
The comment sounded too nonchalant for the situation. The one thing he had been avoiding this whole time had finally caught up to him, but nothing would happen because of it. Gilgamesh realized that was exactly it. After all this time running from the man in front of him, it didn't matter. It wasn't a great victory. He hadn't become significant. He was as mundane as anyone else to the man. He wasn't even a nuisance. The time he had spent running was just as insignificant.
I can see on your face that you understand.
The man put the book back on the shelf and began to walk out of the office.
I'll see you again, Gilgamesh. And to me, it won't be any time at all.
Why did you even come? If what I'm doing is so insignificant, then why did you even meet with me?
The man was already gone around the corner, but Gilgamesh heard his reply.
Because I get so few opportunities to gloat.